à toutes et à tous. 700 tonnes. 700 tonnes.
Hello, everyone. 700 tons. No, I'm not referring to this elephant, because this is a small weight, 6 tons only, 700 tons of CO2. Do you think it is 15,000 kilometers of cars? It's only 2 tons. Flying to and fro between New York and Paris on board an A380? No, it's only 150 tons. Well, in fact, 700 tons. This is what is rejected emitted by this sort of ship. As a child, I used to dream in front of these big ferries, and well, my dream has come true because I steer ships such as this one. So I'm very happy, but at the same time, when you look at the chimneys, you're absolutely, desperate to know what to do in order to curtail this. Now, of course, maritime transport isn't the biggest source of pollution, of course, but we need nonetheless to work on reduction, though this is not an easy task. Just imagine that you should have to store the CO2 emitted by the ship on board or unloaded every day. This would mean 700 tons more of payloads of weight every day on the ship, so it wouldn't be feasible. So what do you do in order to capture and store CO2? Well, it seems that some industries have got a solution, and they thought that maybe they could just dump it in the ocean. You see, you dump every sort of things in the ocean, in the sea, so why not CO2 offshore? Now, in theory, of course, it is feasible, but it's not a good solution for the environment. Another solution could be mimic what nature does and absorb CO2. This is what nature does in the forests. Thanks to a fascinating reaction, which all of you have heard about, of course, which is photosynthesis, and which takes place at the heart of plants, and which turns CO2 into oxygen thanks to sunlight. This is what goes on every day in forests. So, of course, well, you could dream of a sort of mini forest on board the ship. A bit bulky, not very convenient. But wait, there might be another solution. If you look at where you get a lot of photosynthesis on Earth, well, you realize that the majority of oxygen produced isn't generated by forests, but by the oceans. So all these colors here corresponds to the photosynthetic activity of microalgae and planktons and of different kinds. So this is what it looks like, in fact. So you can't see them with the naked eye. However, sometimes you can see them with this red tinting of the sea, such as here in the Brittany region. And these microalgae are very important. Thanks to them, thousands of billions of years ago, they made it possible for us to breathe on Earth because they deliver oxygen. So why not have a forest of algae or plankton on board ships? And you need 3 types of things to grow them: CO2, light, and nutrients. Now, CO2, not a problem, you see, because we generate 700 tons a day. And light isn't a problem either, because we've got, of course, the deck that is exposed to sunlight, and nutrients, of course, that could be a bit of a problem because these nutrients are some sort of fertilizers, and you didn't want to carry them around on board. But the good thing, you see, is that what they need as nutrients is phosphate and nitrogen. And this is what you find in a place where, and I'm sure you won't be able to guess this, well, you find it in urine and in wastewater. So it's possible, instead of just dumping wastewater in the sea, it's possible to use wastewater to nourish the microalgae. So it could look like this, you see. Microalgae are not very demanding. They just need any sort of container with water. So we could turn some of these containers into a gigantic aquarium where we would place microalgae. Each container would be fed with CO2 from the engine, nutrients coming from wastewater, and light captured through this parabolic systems installed on the deck. And in fact, this is a very good system. And even it's too good for them, you see, because their number doubles every day. Imagine that your flower pots on your balcony are just multiplied by 2 every day. Well, you would be crowded with them. Well, it's a bit like that. If we want to use microalgae, you need to make them grow a bit less quickly, and you need to harvest them, so to speak. Now, it would be a bit of a pity to get rid of them. Maybe you could eat them. You could prepare some meals for the crew. I'm not sure the crew would be delighted. But, well, you see, there's something else and something more intelligent we can do with microalgae. You may remember that during photosynthesis, it's possible to turn CO2 into oxygen. Well, this is a reaction that enables algae to store large quantities of lipids, of fat. Now, these fats can be recovered, can be extracted from the algae, and can be turned into fuel, diesel fuel, which can be in turn fed to the engine. And even more impressive, with some technology, it's possible to produce methane, which is less polluting than diesel fuel. It's even possible to produce hydrogen, the forwards-looking revolutionary fuel of the future that breaks down into water and emits only water. So you see, microalgae are a miracle solution. You can use them to treat wastewater, to reduce your consumption. Well, see, a lot of good news, you see. But there's still another thing I want to share with you. You can well imagine that if you can use it on board a ship, you could use it onshore. And of course, the aim isn't to go on using oil, but rather to find solutions to cut down our CO2 emissions while waiting for the fleets of old petrol and diesel engines to be replaced. So I think it would be about the most fascinating and smart thing we could do to save our planet. And I'm sure that once again, nature will have the last word.
Merci beaucoup, Simon.
Thank you very much, Simon. Now, we've listened to so many people in the course of this forum, and even this afternoon, people with, highly skilled when well, it's not often that we have young people on stage and ready to fight to protect the environment. So what was your trigger? What? Well, I think it's really because of the environmental issues. You see energy, CO2 emissions. It's a major challenge because we need to halve the CO2 emissions by 2050. It seems almost out of reach. But we'll have to do so nonetheless. And I think it's something which is more particularly critical and acute for our generation, my generation, younger people who will have to make do with the various changes imposed on the environment. So, and what was your feeling about the COP21? Did you agree with Laurent Fabius to say that it was a major event? Yes, indeed, but there's still a lot to do. And you see, maritime transport was not taken into account in COP21. And I'm currently drafting a report to reduce CO2 emissions from maritime transport. And it's one of the points, one of the items that will be put on the agenda of COP22. Now, sea transport is very much on the upward trend, though it's quite polluting. Do you think it should be continued or that incentives should be implemented in order to reduce it? Well, you see, it's all about the negative impact of globalization. But not only that, cruise ships are all the rage these days. People want to tour the world on board a ship. However, maritime transport is less polluting if you work out the ratio per ton of payload. However, ships use very bad fuels because these are residues from petrochemistry. So maybe what you mean is that we could either keep this volume but reduce consumption or change the type of fuel used. Yes, of course, that would be ideal, but the latest generation of boats are equipped with the same sort of engines that were fitted to them 20 years ago. So, well, we're not there yet. Thank you.